tell us about the period at Warwick. So there was, I think it was Zeeman, whom your father knew, and other people that had, I think, quite an influence on your career.
Yeah, well, I'd like to tell you about an incident I don't know that many people know about, but it was after I just finished my undergraduate and was going to Cambridge, and there was a conference in Edinburgh, and Chris Zeeman was there. And we happened to be in a movie sitting together in the cinema, and he didn't know who I was. And so we started talking. And once I'd sort of, you know, I felt he sort of liked me and he appreciated what I had to say, and then he asked me what I was doing, and I said, well, I'm going to Cambridge to go to a PhD in mathematics, and he asked me who I was going to study with, because at that time you had to decide who you were given a thesis advisor, and I told him this person, and he said, oh, that's a terrible, you know, he's peopled Britain with these boring mathematicians. And I told him who I was, because at that time I trusted him well enough for him to say, well, you know my father, you know, I'm Wad's daughter. And he was quite amazed, because of course he knew my father very well, and that's why he was in Edinburgh. And anyway, he made sure I got somebody else as a supervisor. And I think that was probably very lucky for me, that I had George Reed as my supervisor, because he put me onto an interesting part of mathematics and things. And, you know, I didn't meet Chris Zeeman very much, but he may, though I don't know this, he may have had a hand in me getting a job at Warwick, because it was an open position. I applied for it. And, you know, at that time my resume didn't look very good, because I'd spent many years not writing any papers, and I'd completely switched fields, and, you know, I mean, it was a bit of a chance. I was certainly not somebody with, you know, a sort of ongoing research program with lots of papers to my credit at that point. So anyway, I went to Warwick, and that was a wonderful university, because it was run more on American lines, or there was a little research institute there. There were these research houses that Christopher Zeeman himself had designed, so they were mathematicians' paradises. So they had a little house for the family, and then there was a little hallway, and then at the back there was this round study that was sort of sealed. You could seal the door. The walls were blackboards all the way around, and your mathematician could sit there in splendor and do mathematics. So that was, everybody liked that. Right? And he won an architecture award for it. And actually, another thing about Zeeman, he was, I think, one of the first people to realize that the buildings influenced the way people interacted. Well, I mean, that can't be true, but in the mathematics world, he specially designed the mathematics department at Warwick so that the mailboxes were in the common room, so everybody went to the common room. It was a very social environment. And, you know, that's been copied a lot since then. But the Warwick Common Room was pretty famous.